What if I told you that some of the most dangerous tanks in World War II were made of rubber? That entire armies existed only as radiostatic and clever sound effects? This is the incredible, true story of the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops, a secret unit of artists, engineers, and illusionists who fought not with bullets, but with bluff. They were masters of deception, a ghost army whose mission was to fool the enemy, and in doing so, save thousands of lives. By 1943, the Allies were facing a brutal math problem. Every major assault, every beachhead taken, cost thousands and thousands of lives. The casualty numbers were staggering. Commanders desperately needed a way to make Germany look the wrong way, to trick them into wasting precious troops, tanks, and attention on phantom threats. They needed a way to draw enemy forces away from the real points of attack. Their solution was something straight out of a Hollywood movie. Create an entire theater of war where the props were just as important as the players. They needed a unit that could conjure up armies out of thin air, a force that could be anywhere and everywhere at once, sowing confusion and chaos. This wasn't about fighting harder. It was about fighting smarter, using deception on a scale never before imagined. This was the birth of the Ghost Army. So, who were these unconventional soldiers? The army began recruiting from a very unusual talent pool: art schools, advertising agencies, and theater companies. These weren't your typical infantrymen. They were set designers, sound engineers, radio actors, and painters. Imagine a young Bill Blass, who would later become a world-famous fashion designer, sketching camouflage patterns, or Art Kane, a future legendary photographer, figuring out how to make an inflatable tank look real. Their weapons were truly unique. They had a whole arsenal of inflatable rubber tanks, cannons, and jeeps that looked completely authentic from a distance of just 100 yards. They used giant speakers to broadcast pre-recorded sounds of troop movements, making a quiet forest sound like an entire armored division on the move. And they created elaborate, fake radio chatter between fictional generals, crafting entire storylines for German intelligence to intercept and believe. It was a symphony of illusion, conducted by artists turned soldiers. Their absolute masterpiece was Operation Fortitude, the great bluff that protected the D-Day landings in Normandy. The plan was audacious: convince Hitler that the main Allied invasion was going to happen at the Pas de Calais, the narrowest point of the English Channel, not at Normandy. While the real invasion force secretly gathered in the south of England, the Ghost Army went to work in Kent, directly opposite Calais. They created the illusion of the massive 1st U.S. Army Group. Supposedly commanded by the famous General George Patton, they set up hundreds of inflatable landing craft in harbors, built fake fuel depots, and filled the airwaves with phantom radio traffic, all pointing to an imminent attack on Calais. German intelligence took the bait completely. They kept an entire panzer army, nearly 50,000 troops, and hundreds of tanks waiting for an attack that never came, far away from the real action at Normandy. This deception was critical to the success of D-Day. One of their most ingenious tools was the sonic deception truck. Think of it as a mobile sound studio of war. Each truck was equipped with massive speakers and a state-of-the-art sound system. These systems could project the sounds of an entire armored battalion, the clanking of tank tracks, the roar of engines, even the muffled conversations of soldiers up to 15 miles away. Their tactics were brilliant. They would drive to a location at night, play these recordings for hours to convince German scouts an army was gathering, then silently pack up and move to a new location before dawn. They could replay the sounds elsewhere, making a single company of men sound like an entire division constantly on the move. It created a picture of overwhelming force, keeping the enemy guessing, off balance, and terrified of phantoms in the dark. Sound itself became a powerful weapon. The Ghost Army's existence was a top-secret affair, so secret that their story wasn't declassified until 1996. But their influence lives on. The techniques they pioneered became the foundation of modern psychological operations, or PSY. Today's militaries use sophisticated digital deception, creating fake social media profiles and spreading misinformation to confuse adversaries. They're developing holographic projections that can create phantom vehicles or troops on the battlefield. AI-generated fake communications can mimic enemy command structures with terrifying accuracy. All of these advanced technologies are direct descendants of those creative artists and their inflatable tanks. The core idea remains the same: win the battle of the mind before the first shot is even fired. The legacy of the Ghost Army is woven into the very fabric of modern warfare. In war, We often focus on firepower and destruction,